we'll start with the prayers. We can do it all together. Om Sadashivas
शिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
Vande
वन्दे
Parampara
गुरुपरम्पराम्
Saraswati
वरदभ्यं वन्दे कामरूपिणी
Vidya
विद्यारम्भं
Krishnami
करिष्यामि
Siddhir
सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा
Om
सहना भवतु
Sahanau
सहनौ
Bhunaktu
सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
Vasudevendra Natva
ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं
Mumukshu
मुमुक्षुराणाय तत्त्वबोधिर्विद्यते
Om Namah Shivaya. Okay. Let's just have a quick revision and then we can proceed. So we were looking at the evolution of creation in the last class, and the first stage is the creation of the Sukshma Pancha Bhutani, that is the 5 subtle elements. And then these 5 subtle elements combine and become Sukshma Bhautikani, the subtle elementals. And from step 1 itself, from the Sukshma Pancha Bhutani, subtle 5 elements, we also have the gross 5 elements, Thula Pancha Bhutani, through a process called Panchikaranam. And from this Thula Pancha Bhutani, the gross elements, we have the gross elementals, Sthula Bhautikani. Okay, and we were looking at the second stage, the Sukshma Bhautikani creation. So first we saw all this. We saw that we have all these elements that come from the previous one, and all these are the Sukshma elements. Then we were seeing about the Sattvika Amsha of Akasha gives Shrotrendriya. So from the Sattvic aspect of this space subtle element, we have the Shrotra Indriya, that is the Indriya for hearing. And so on for each of them. For Vayu we have Tvak, for Agni we have Chakshu, for Jala we have Rasana, for Prithvi we have Granam. So from the Sattvic aspect. And why Sattvic aspect? Because Sattva is the Jnana Shakti, the power of knowing. And all the sense organs are associated with knowledge. Right? They give input from the world. They reveal the world to us. And so they have to be born from the Sattvic aspect, the Jnana Shakti aspect. And we also saw from the Samashti Sattvic Amshat, that is the total Sattvic portion, or the Sattvic portion of all the elements gives birth to the Antakarana. Antakarana is the mind with the 4 aspects. And the 4 aspects also we saw Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chittam. Now, today we are going to see the Rajasic aspect. So till now we saw the Sattvic aspect. Now we have to see the Rajasic aspect. Now what was the power of Rajas?
Kriya Shakti.
Kriya Shakti, that's right. So the power of activity. So what do you think must be born from the Kriya Shakti?
Karmendriya.
Correct. Karmendriya must be born. Karmendriya means organ of action, means it needs to act. That is why it is an organ of action. And so it is born from the Rajasic aspect of each of the elements. So we can read this now. You can unmute yourself. एतेषां पञ्चतत्त्वानां मध्ये
एतेषां
पञ्चतत्त्वानां
मध्ये
मध्ये
आकाशस्य राजसांशात्
आकाशस्य राजसांशात्
वागिन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
वागिन्द्रियं सम्भूतं
वायो राजसांशात्
वायुराजसांशात्
पाणीन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
पाणिन्द्रियं
सम्भूतं
वह्ने राजसांशात्
वहने राजसांशात्
पादेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
पादेन्द्रियं
सम्भूतं
जलस्य राजसांशात्
जलस्य राजसांशात्
उपस्थेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
उपस्थेन्द्रियं सम्भूतं
पृथिव्या राजसांशात्
पृथिव्या
राजसांशात्
उदेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
उदेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्
एतेषां समष्टिराजसांशात्
एतेषां राजसांशात्
पञ्चप्राणासम्भूताः
पञ्चप्राणासंशात्
So in this, the author has listed the how the Rajasic aspect of each element generates one of the Karmendriyas. So, if you see the first one, Etesham Pancha Tattvanam Madhye. From among these 5 subtle elements. So, he is still talking about the subtle elements when he says Etesham Pancha Tattvanam Madhye. Etesham Madhye means from among these, and what is he referring to? The Panchatattva, the 5 subtle elements. So from among these 5 subtle elements, Akashasya Rajasamshat, the Rajas Amsha, Rajasic aspect. The Rajasic aspect of Akasha, what happens? Vagindriyam. So which one is this? Vagindriyam is?
the mouth.
Yes, the organ of speech, the mouth. So, Vagindriyam. And remember again, it is Indriyam. Okay, the invisible power and not the Golakam. Golakam means the anatomical portion. But here we are talking about the Indriyam, which is the subtle portion, the power. So, Vagindriyam Sambhutam. Sambhutam means is born or generated. Then from Vayu, which Indriyam?
Pani.
Pani is
Hand.
hands, right? So the organ for grasping and handling things, that organ is born from the Vayu aspect. Then Vahani is fire, right? From that, what is born?
feet
Feet or Padendriyam, the Pada, the organ for movement, that is born. Then from Jalam is water. What is born?
The organs of reproduction. Upastha.
Yes. Organ of reproduction, Upastha, is born. And then what does that leave us with? Prithvi.
Prithvi.
And what is the organ?
You have
Excretion.
told the term Payu
Yes.
for the organs of excretion.
Yes. Okay, so I have not told. Tattvabodha author has told the word Payu previously. So here he is using a different word, Gudendriyam, same thing. Okay, so it is the organ of evacuation. Now, sometimes in some books, you may find the word upastha and guda or payu interchanged. Okay, so upastha may mean the organ of evacuation and payu may mean the organ of reproduction. But here we are taking the other way. It's okay, it's not a very big thing. Okay, so this Rajasic aspect of each of the elements, as you can see, has generated one indriya, one respective indriya. Now, one thing is still left, which is the Samashti Rajasamshat. From the total Rajasic, that means the Rajasic aspect of all five of them, something has to come. What is that?
Mind.
No, the Pancha Prana.
The Pancha Prana. So it is written right here.
Yes.
Pancha Prana has to be born from the Samashti Rajasic aspect, the total Rajasic aspect. So if you remember, Prana is actually only one entity which plays five functional roles, and so that is why we give it five different names. So it is like, if there's a necklace, you don't wear the necklace on the foot, you wear the necklace around the neck. So wearing it around the neck is the function of the necklace. And if you take a bangle you don't wear anywhere else except on the hand, right? So wearing the bangle on the hand is the function of the bangle. Now both necklace and bangle are made out of gold, but because they have different functions, we call them by different names. So it is gold only finally, but because they they have different functions, the shape is different and therefore the function is different, we give them different names. So, in the same way, this prana is also one, but because it plays five functional roles, we have given five names. And what are those five names?
Prana, Apana, Vyana, Samana, and
Udana.
one Udana.
Yes. Okay, very good. So, prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana. Five names. I'm not going to go into the details of those now. We have covered it already in a previous class. So, that is prana. Now, with this, we have finished the Rajasic aspect. So, the Bhautikani, the elementals that are born from the Rajasic aspect, is also done. And with this, we have actually finished 24 elements. So, if you remember the very first line of this particular chapter, the author started by saying, Atha Chaturvimshati Tattvopatti Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Means, I will now tell you how 24 tattvams are created. And now he has finished 24. So, do you want to guess what are the 24? First five is easy. The Pancha Tattvanam, which he is talking about here, five subtle elements. So, five done. Next five or next bunch.
Jnanendriya.
Pancha Jnanendriyas. Correct. Next.
The Panchakarmendriyas,
Pancha Karmendriyas. Okay. Then
Pancha Prana,
Pancha Prana. Again five. So Pancha, the five subtle elements, five sense organs, five organs of action, and five pranas. So 5 into 4, 20. So 20 is done. What remains?
Antakarana.
Antakarana,
Antakarana.
Karana, the four aspects of the mind, the manaha, buddhi, ahankara, and chittam. So with this, 24 tattvams he has covered. But still something is left, right?
Yes, the Sthula Sharira.
Sthula Sharira is left, but in this particular flow,
The tamasic aspect.
the tamasic aspect is still left, right? So in this Tattvam portion, the author has not included uh, the sthula bodies, the gross bodies that are born from the tamasic aspect. So when he says 24, he means whatever we discussed till now, right? The 5 subtle elements, uh, the totally 10 indriyas, right? 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, then the 4 aspects of the mind and the 5 pranas. So with this, 24 is done, and that is what he meant by his 24. But we have still not yet seen the tamasic aspect. And from this tamasic aspect, the gross bodies are born. So you'll see the number on top has changed. Number 3. We are now at stage 3, where Sthula Pancha Bhutani are born. So previously the elements were in the subtle form, pure form. And now we are going to discuss how the gross elements are generated. Gross means available for perception. So the earth that we see, or the fire that we see, the water that we can see, that which is available to the sense organs is called gross. So now we're going to discuss how the gross elements came about. So we can read this, then we can discuss. एतेषां पञ्चतत्त्वानां
एतेषां पञ्चतत्त्वानां
तामसांशात्
तामसांशात्
पञ्चीकृतपञ्चतत्त्वानि भवन्ति
कृतपन्थानि भवन्ति
पञ्चीकरणं कथमिति चेत्
पञ्चीकरणं कथमिति चेत्
एतेषां पञ्चमहाभूतानां
एतेषां
पञ्चमहाभूतानां
तामसांशस्वरूपम्
तामसस्वरूपम्
एकमेकं भूतं द्विधा विभज्य
एकमेकं भूतं द्विधा विभज्य
एकमेकमर्धं पृथक् तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य
एकमेकं पृथक्
तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य
एकमेकमर्धम्
एकमेकम् अर्धं
पृथक् तूष्णीं
पृथक् तूष्णीं
व्यवस्थाप्य
व्यवस्थाप्य
एकमेकमर्धं पृथक् तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य
एकमेकर्धं पृथक् तूष्णीं व्यवस्थाप्य
अपरमपरमर्धम्
परमर्थं
चतुर्धा विभज्य
चतुर्था
विभज्य
स्वार्धमन्येषु अर्थेषु स्वभागचतुष्टयसंयोजनम् कार्यं तदा पञ्चीकरणं भवति.
तदा पञ्चीकरणं भवति.
Okay. So now we are going to discuss about a process called as Panchikaranam. Have you heard this word before?
Yes.
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 Where?
You told us it is grossification.
It is grossification. So we have heard it in which chapter or which topic?
Jagat Utpatti. Same topic.
Mhm. I'll give you a clue. Panchīkrita Panchamahabhutaik Kritam Satkarmajanyam Sukha Dukkhadi Bhoga.
Second.
Hmm.
Second chapter
Second
under the
chapter.
topic of Sthula Sukshma
Yeah.
Shariram.
Yes.
So if you go back and if you look at the topics of Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, you'll see that the first word is Panchikritam and the other one is Apanchikritam. Right? For Sukshma, it is Apanchikrita, and for Sthula, it is Panchikrita. Now, that time we had not explained what the word Panchikrita means. But now we are going to talk about it. So, Panchikrita means having undergone Panchikaranam. It is just a grammatical formation. Having undergone Panchikaranam, it becomes Panchikrita. So, now he is going to talk about how this Panchikaranam happens, what exactly it is. And the brief definition we had given was grossification. Grossification means conversion from subtle to gross. So the subtle elements get converted to the gross elements. Now, before we look at the Sanskrit portion, we will first understand the concept with the help of a diagram and then we will come back. So, if you see this diagram, you will see on the left side we have representatives for each of the subtle elements. So the white colored box represents the subtle space, Sukshma Akasha. Then the gray color box represents the Sukshma Vayu and so on. So there are boxes that represents each of the subtle elements. So on the left side we have the pure elements, okay, subtle form. Now, some of you, if you have attended the previous batch, there was a different diagram actually, but I got some feedback that that diagram was a little confusing. So this is actually the same diagram, but just color with color, okay, color coded to help the understanding. So now, what do we do with each of these subtle elements? First, we will divide them into half. So you take each element, divide it into half. Then one half, keep it as it is. Okay, so one box out of the two, we will just keep as it is. The other box, we will divide it into 4 pieces. So you see this diagram, one box is kept as it is, and then the other 50% we have divided into 4 pieces. Then what do? We do a little rearrangement. So what happens is this space element, so it has one box 50% of itself and then four more pieces, right? So it distributes the 4 pieces among the other 4 elements. Okay. So if you see, then the last one, okay, and not just one element, all the elements do this. They all give each of the 4 boxes to the other 4 elements. So what you're left with is this very colorful combination, right? So you see the final product at the right side is like an alloy. It is like a combination, right? It is a mixture of all of them in a particular ratio. What is that ratio? So it is 50% of its own element and then 12.5 of each of the others. So 50% and then 12.5% of the other 4, each of them. If you want in fractions, it is half plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. Okay, 1/8. Right. Any questions about this?
All I can say is beautiful representation, Medaji. Very nice, very easy to understand.
Okay. So the last row that you see, that is the sthula elements. Okay, the gross elements. So we have the sthula pancha mahabhutani, which is actually an alloy. It is actually a combination. So when you say earth element, it is actually 50% earth and then combined with the other four in this particular ratio. Now, obviously, this is only for representation purposes because, as we know, pure space is not a white box and pure air is not a gray box. They're all subtle, right? Meaning they are not perceptible. So it is just for visualization purposes that these boxes and these colors are put. Okay, but the idea is that the mixing happens in this particular ratio, in this particular way, and that is what is the Panchikaranam process, which gives this Sthula Bhutani. Okay, is this very clear? This concept?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now then we are ready to go back and look at the Sanskrit verse. So it's basically mathematics, but in Sanskrit. And so that is why first it is better to understand the maths, then we can look at the Sanskrit. Otherwise, it gets a little confusing. So the author says, Etesham panchatattvanam, from among those five subtle elements, tamasamshat, from their tamasic aspect. And it's interesting that the sthula prapancha, the gross world that we see around us, that it is born from the tamasic aspect. What is the Shakti of tamas?
Potential.
Dravya Shakti.
Dravya Shakti means
Inertia.
Inertia.
inertia, right? So it just maintains, however, or it suppresses the other two. You can say it suppresses this Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti. So if you look at a pen, this pen cannot think on its own, nor can it act or move on its own. So what is predominant? Tamas. And it makes sense because it is born from the tamasic aspect of the elements. Right? So it is predominantly Dravya Shakti, inertial. It suppresses the other two powers. So, from the tamasic aspect of the five subtle elements, what happens? Panchikrita panchatatvani bhavanti. Bhavanti is to become, and what is becoming what? The panchatattvanam is becoming panchikrita panchatattvanam. Meaning the subtle five elements are becoming the elements having undergone panchikaranam process. So that is why he uses the word panchikrita panchatattvanam. Another word for this compound word is nothing but sthula panchabhutani. Sthula panchabhutani is nothing but panchikrita panchatatvani. Same thing, okay? Now, obviously, at this point, the question will come up, Panchikaranam kathamiti chet. What is this Panchikaranam? So he is himself asking, iti chet means if it is asked. So if it is asked, what is Panchikaranam? So he's himself raising a question and then he's going to answer it. So he says, Etesham pancha mahabhutanam. From among the five elements, the five subtle elements, tamasamsha, from their tamasic portion, what happens? Ekam ekam bhutam dvidha vibhajya. Ekam ekam means each. Okay, one by one, each one. Bhutam means element. So each element, dvidha vibhajya. Vibhajya means to divide. Dvidha means two. So divide it into two. So this was the first step we saw, where the box splits into two. right? 50%, 50%. So we took each element and we have made it into two portions. So dvidha vibhajya, dividing it into two. Then he says, ekam ekam ardham. Each half. Ardham means half. So each half, one by one of each element, each half, pritak tushnim vyavasthapya. Pritak tushnim means keep it as it is, reserve it, keep it in the way that it is. Vyavasthapya means to arrange it in that way. So one portion, that 150%, it will remain undisturbed. So don't, we don't have to do anything more with it, just keep it. So this was the left side 50% box that you saw that kept, it's the same throughout. Nothing more happens to it. So then what happens to the other half? He says, aparam aparam ardham, the other half of each one. Ardham is again half, aparam aparam means the other one of each of them. So aparam aparam ardham, the other 50%, what do? Chaturdha vibhajya, divide it into 4 pieces. Vibhajya again means to divide, Chaturdha is 4. So that other 50% block that was there, we have now broken it into 4 pieces. Chaturdha vibhajya. We have divided into 4. So each box, small box, is 1/8, right? Because half of 1/4 of half is 1/8. So we have 4 little boxes of 1/8 piece, the 12.5% box. Then what does he say? Swa ardham anyeshu ardheshu swabhaga chatushtaya sanyojanam. This sanyojanam means redistribute, recombine. Okay, so a combination, recombination is happening with what? Swabhaga chatushtaya, the 4 of its small pieces, with anyeshu ardheshu, the other elements, the half of the other elements. Okay, so the Sanskrit is little tricky. It will you will think what is happening, but the concept is actually quite easy. So at this point, the division we have made all the divisions, and now we are just going to rearrange the small boxes so that each element has 50% of its own and 12.5% of the other 4. So that is what Swabhaga Chatushtaya Anyeshu Ardheshu Sayojanam means. Distribute its own 4 pieces among the other 4 elements. Karyam means do. Tada Panchikaranam Bhavati. This is the Panchikaranam process. Okay, this is all clear till now?
Yes.
So we can see the diagram again. Yeah, I'll just pause now for any questions. With this, we have actually finished the tamasic portion, the tamasamshat, the sthula prapancha, the sthula elements being born from the tamasic portion of the sukshma elements. Any questions? Okay.
Medhaji, how do we know about this redistribution? Is it also stated in the Shastras?
This, I think it is borrowed from Sankhya, but the author himself has explained it in Tattvabodha, and since we are treating Tattvabodha itself as a Shastra, we accept it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask? Everything is so mathematical. Is it that accurate?
Well, they have given, right? Ardeshu and all those things. Chaturdha, Ardeshu. So it is to give an idea of the ratio.
Okay.
It is difficult to verify because all of those are in subtle form. And even if we find earth element, it is tough to verify, okay, is this only earth? How do I break open earth and find if there is water or space or other elements in it? So it is just to give an idea.
Thank you.
Okay. So now that the sthula elements are born, the sthula elementals also have to be born. And what are sthula bhautikani or the elementals? It is nothing but when these sthula bhutani, the sthula elements, when they recombine or when they modify, it gives rise to bhautikani. So, for example, the human body. It is a combination of all the 5 elements. We definitely have all the 5 elements in the body, right? And sometimes it is in a combined way. It is even difficult to differentiate. Sometimes, does this fall under the water element or the earth element? But it is a combination. So, that is what the author is telling now. So, we can read this. And as you can see, this is now the fourth and final step of those 4 stages, the Sthula Bhautikani stage. Okay. एतेभ्यः पञ्चीकृतपञ्चमहाभूतेभ्यः
एतेभ्यः पञ्चीकृतपञ्चमहाभूतेभ्यः
स्थूलशरीरं भवति.
स्थूलशरीरं भवति.
So this is a simple statement. He says etebhyah, from among these. And now he's clarifying that this is the panchikrita panchamahabhutani that he's talking about. That is the gross elements and not the subtle. Till now he was talking about the subtle, right? He was saying etesham pancha tattvanam. But now he's very clearly saying etebhyah panchikrita panchamahabhutani. From among the 5 gross elements, what happens? Sthula shariram bhavati. The gross bodies are born. All the gross bodies in the universe are a combination of these 5 elements. And in this way, all the bodies are born. This is nothing but the Annamaya portion of the world that we are talking about. And so with this, we have completed the 4th one also, the Sthula Bhautikani. And this topic is over. The chapter itself is over with this. What was the chapter name?
समष्टि विचार.
Samashti Vicharaha, or the Jagat Utpatti Vicharaha, the creation or evolution of the cosmos. So we saw the 4 stages of the evolution, and now this line is the concluding line for this particular chapter. So we can read this and finish it off. एवं पिण्डब्रह्माण्डयोरैक्यं सम्भूतम्
एवं पिण्डब्रह्माण्डयोरैक्यं
सम्भूतम्.
Okay. The word Pinda means microcosm and Brahmanda means macrocosm. So Pinda is the individual, Brahmanda is the totality. And so the author says, in this way, the what do you say? The identity. Here, Aikyam, we can take it to mean identity. He says, so in this way, the identity between this Pinda and Brahmanda, between the microcosm and the macrocosm, is established. And how do we understand this? Because the individual body and the universal body, they are both made up of the same 5 elements. That is why when we use the word prapancha, the ending part, pancha, prapancha, right? The pancha refers to these 5 elements, the pancha tattvam. So this individual as well as the totality both are made from the same 5 elements. They are both born out of this avyakta maya. Both are of a changing nature. And so, in this way, the identity between them is established. Okay, so now we have understood what is Pinda and what is Brahmanda. We have understood about the individual and we have understood about the totality. And now we have to talk about their unity. And that is the 4th chapter, which is the essential unity between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So the name of the 4th chapter is Aikya Vicharaha. Aikya means the essential oneness, the essential unity or the reality of this Jivatma and this Paramatma. And actually, they are not different. And how do we go about establishing that equation? That we will see in the next chapter. So let me just see the time. So we have 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, we can discuss that. Otherwise, we can begin an introduction to the next chapter. Any questions?
You think will be gross or it's like more physical or golakam thing,
Which one?
tamasic aspect of the sukshma. But it is also related to rest and digest or some, what you say, some aspects like an sleep or the non-gross, non-physical aspects, right?
Of the human body?
Yes.
Then we are not talking about the body alone anymore. We are talking about the composite entity, which we call as the body mind sense complex, BMSC.
Okay.
That is a combination of all, right? The indriyams, the subtle body, the physical body, everything.
Hmm.
So then we are we're not only talking about the Annamaya Kosha. When we talk purely of Annamaya Kosha, we are talking only of the physical body, the anatomy, not even the physiology. Anatomy is only the structural part of the body. Physiology is the operation or the functioning of the various parts of the body. So we are not even talking about physiology because physiology involves the prana.
Okay.
Because in order for the heart to beat, it needs some power to make it beat, right?
Right.
That belongs to the Sukshma Shariram. That belongs to the prana.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Yeah. So that is why when we say it is born out of the tamasic aspect, we are talking purely of the physical body. And if you really, examine it and separate it in your mind and analyze, it is not possible to physically separate, of course. But in your mind, if you really separate all these different elements, you will see that the body is not very different from a rock. Some stone on the road is not very different from the body. The only difference is the stone doesn't have Sukshma Shariram, but this body has a Sukshma Shariram. That is why the heart beats, the lungs breathe, the brain thinks, and that is why all these activities are possible. But, when death happens, what happens to the body? Just like a stone, it is put into the ground, right? Because it is not any more different from that stone. The only thing that makes it sentient or keeps it alive is that Sukshma Shariram.
Okay. Understood.
Okay. Fine. So the next topic is called Aikya Vicharaha, which is the essential oneness between this Jivatma and Paramatma. Now, before we start going deeper into the topic, there are some concepts, some small examples that need to be understood very, very clearly. Then the rest of it becomes very easy. Suppose there is a dark room. Okay, there's no light inside that room. And now suppose you place a mirror just outside the room in such a way that it reflects the sunlight inside the room. Now, if you are inside that room and you don't know what is sunlight and what happens, what do you think of or of where the light is coming from?
Sun.
The mirror.
Mirror.
Yes.
The
You don't
mirror.
know about the sun, so you think that the light is coming from the mirror. So the mirror appears as though it is a source of light. But is that actually the case? Is the mirror generating its own light?
No.
No.
The mirror is only reflecting the.
Mirror is only borrowing some sunlight from the sun and then it is reflecting it into the room. But the person inside the room who doesn't know what is the sun, for him it appears as though this mirror itself is a source of light. But is that actually the case?
No.
No, right? So the mirror has just borrowed sunlight. On its own, the mirror is also a dull object. It has no luminosity of its own, right? It cannot produce any light. It is actually the same with the moon also. What we call moonlight is nothing but reflected light. So this is point number 1, which is important to understand, that the mirror has no light of its own, it only borrows sunlight. It appears as though it is self luminous, but actually, that is not the case. Okay, so this is point number 1, example number 1. And remember this very, very clearly. We will connect it back to the concept later. Now, if there are 6 mirrors, there are 6 reflections, right? So if you have the sun in one place and then you keep 6 mirrors over here, how many reflections of the sun will there be?
As many as the number of mirrors.
Yes. So if there are 6 mirrors, 6 reflections. How many suns are actually there?
One.
So even though there are 6 reflections and one sun, you don't count the reflections, right? You only count one original sun. Even when you look in the mirror, you don't say now there are 2 me's. There is still only one me, the other one is a reflection, right? So this is another important thing to understand, that if there are 6 mirrors, there are 6 reflections. If there are any number of reflecting medium, then that many number of reflections will be there. But the original thing, the original source of light is one only, that is the sun. Okay, this is example number 2 to remember. Now, if suppose you have 2 kinds of mirrors, one mirror is little small and very dirty, and the other mirror is very big and bright, which one do you think will give a nice bright reflection?
The clear one.
The clear, nice, big mirror, right? Now, do you think something has happened to the original sun?
No.
No. So in one mirror, the sun appears as though it is small and dirty, and in the other one, the sun appears as though it is big and bright. But actually, nothing has happened to the original sun. So the nature of this distortion, nature of this change belongs to the sun or to the mirror?
Mirror. The mirror.
To the mirror, right? If the sun appears small in the mirror, it is because of the nature of that mirror. If the sun appears big and clear in a particular mirror, it is again because of the nature of that particular mirror. So nothing has happened to the original sun, but this this the nature of the mirror decides the nature of the reflection. Okay, is this very clear? This is an important point to understand. Any reflection appears so only because of the nature of that particular reflecting medium and not because of the original source. So if you go into if you see all these concave convex mirrors, if you see your own face inside that, nothing has actually happened to the face, but in those mirrors it appears long and curved and all those things. But that is because that is how the mirror is, and not because that is how the face is. So all the distortions belong only to the mirror and not to the original. Okay, this is clear. Now,
Yes.
so once before we have discussed about this word medium. When we said that, this consciousness requires a medium to be experienced. If you remember the 5 points of consciousness, the fifth point was this. And we gave one more example there, which was about fan and electricity. And we said that if the fan is not there, there is no way to know about this electricity. Some object is required to know about electricity, right? You even with your finger, if you get a shock, the finger becomes the object of knowing electricity. If you put a bulb, the bulb becomes the object of knowing electricity. If you put a fan, then the fan is the object to know electricity. So that object is what we are calling as medium. So there is some medium that is necessary in order to know electricity. Otherwise, it is not possible to know. If there is only a socket, there's no way to know if there's electricity in that socket or not. Some object is needed to determine whether electricity is there or not. Now, in the same way, for light to be seen, it needs an object to reflect off. Okay, so if have you seen those photos of deep space? And does it appear bright or dark?
Dark.
It appears dark because in deep space there is nothing, not even dust, to reflect the light. The moment some object comes, some planet, some asteroid, even dust, the moment it comes, then because of that object, light is seen. So even light requires a medium in order to be cognized. So, in other words, all light that you see is reflected light. Is this clear? So, on Earth, what happens, even though it appears bright and all of that, we have to remember that there is a lot of microscopic dust in the air, and that reflects the light and appears as though it is, the whole environment is bright. And any other object we see, even any other color we see, all of it is reflected light only. So even to cognize light, there must be a medium which reflects the light. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, so go back and revise the 10th standard physics for all this. So, light requires a medium to be seen. Okay, if this example is difficult to understand, then you can go back to the electricity example. It is the same point that is being conveyed. Okay, but since we are talking about the sun and the mirror and light, I have got this in this light example, but actually it is just conveying the same point that some object or some medium is required to cognize light and even to cognize electricity. Otherwise, it is not possible. Okay, so this is one more point to remember. Now, all these points are important and all of them will be connected back to the topic. And so, all of them have to be understood carefully and properly. If you understand these examples very, very well, then what comes next will be very easy to understand. And now, the next point is that all the objects reflect light. Every object on the planet reflects light. When we say mirror, it is a perfect reflecting object, right? When it is almost 100% reflection happens, some 99.99 something percentage, but it is almost 100%. So it is called a perfect reflecting medium, meaning it reflects all the light that falls on it. And that is why we see a very clear image when we look in the mirror. But it's not that other objects don't reflect light. They also reflect light, but they absorb some of it and reflect some of it. That is why we have colors. So again, go back to 10th standard physics. You will remember that that VIBGYOR, violet, indigo, blue, the color range, what is there, the frequencies, some portion of the frequency is absorbed by the object and the rest of it is reflected. And that is what is the color of that object, right? So some portion of the frequency is kept and a different frequency is reflected back, and that is why it appears as though that object has some color. So that every object reflects light, but some objects, they keep some portion of the light and they reflect the rest of it, and then that is why they appear colored. So it is not that light is changing or light is being affected by this. It is just because of the nature of the object that it appears as though it is colored. So the original light may be the same, but because of the nature of the object, it appears differently colored. So all of them reflect light. A mirror reflects perfectly, 100%. Other objects reflect partially, different percentages, and that is why they appear colored. And so the color is not because of the original light, it is because of the nature of the object. Is this clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's a big diagram. So for this, now time is also up. So for this week, please do mananam on all these examples that I have given. Please think more and more. Light is a very good example to help understand the next coming topic. So do some mananam on the nature of light. If required, go to YouTube and watch some videos on light and reflection and all these things, because it will help you in the next class. Okay, so we will revise these examples again in the next class, and then we will see how it connects to our main topic of Jivatma and Paramatma.
Medaji, I have a question.
Yes.
See, during the daytime, you said every particle or dust, it has the thing of absorbing light and reflecting it back. So during the daytime, there's direct sunlight, and this absorbs all these dust particles, or any object absorbs direct sunlight and reflects back. But during the night, the reflected light is what is absorbed by the particles, And does that, I know it's kind of a little, I was just thinking about this, and I felt to ask you as to how is that indirect, or obviously it's, I don't know how to really put this across.
At night, the light itself is lesser because of the Earth's rotation, right? So we are facing the other direction from the sun. So the available light itself is limited. And in that, all the rules of physics have to apply: the reflection, refraction, that scattering, all these
What
things.
I'm trying to say is during the daytime, it's you absorb direct sunlight. So you are the mirror itself there, right? So, I mean, if you really put it the way we've learned so far, and during the night, you are the second mirror, say, because you're taking the reflection of the sunlight from the moon, and you are like the second mirror. The moon is the first mirror and you're the second mirror. So does that have anything to do in this understanding of?
In a sense, but not exactly. So if you want a second mirror and a first mirror concept, then, to give a spoiler to the others, then the Sukshma Shariram will be the first mirror, and then the Sthula will be the second, because, or the other way, because Sthula cannot borrow consciousness directly from Atman.
Right.
Can only borrow existence directly from Atman. So, in order to borrow consciousness, we need what a so-called second mirror, which is the Sukshma Shariram. And then this combination, this Sthula Sukshma combination, is able to reflect both existence and consciousness.
Mm. Okay.
So, in that way, you could apply a second mirror, but
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
also, I just want to remind all of you that the sun and mirror and all these examples are always limited. All examples are always limited. There will be one point where the analogy doesn't work anymore. Okay, but we will go up till that point. We will use the example for our better understanding. And after that point, the example has to be discarded. It won't make sense anymore.
Mm.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then we can stop here. We'll end with Purnamada. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate.
Shishyate.
Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti.
Shanti.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Tat Sat. Thank you all and see you next week.
Thank you so much, Medha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Meeta ji.
much.